Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jawad. What I'm going to go in today's video is hypothyroid versus adrenal fatigue. Is it your thyroid gland or is it your adrenal glands that are giving you the symptomatology? Now, I deal with a lot of patients who the biggest question is it your thyroid gland or is it your adrenal glands? Now, your thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped gland in the middle of your neck, okay? And your adrenal glands, they're small glands that sit on top of the back of your kidneys. They're roughly about a quarter of a size, okay? A size of a quarter. And I always say that the thyroid gland, that would be like the biggest that's your big battery, while the adrenal glands would be the battery backup. However, if you have a low functioning thyroid, that battery backup can only do so much to work to run the system in a homeostatic state. So a lot of my patients who are on hormone replacements, or what they're doing is that they're taking in too much estrogen-based foods. When you have too much estrogen floating around your system, it actually decreases the function of the thyroid. Or if you have chronic stress. Chronic stress causes chronic inflammation of the body, which will slow down the thyroid gland, which will kickstart the adrenal glands. But the adrenal glands can only do so much to help back up the thyroid. So the question is always, is it your thyroid or is it your adrenals? Now, symptoms, what we do with symptoms, we match up the symptoms to figure out what system is being affected. Okay, it's kind of like when you go to your mechanic and the check engine light is on. That's just an indicator something's wrong. So a trusted mechanic will hook it up. We'll run a diagnostics test to figure out exactly what part of your engine is not working properly. Okay, is it the alternator, or is it the carburetor, so forth and so on. So symptoms are just an indicator that something's wrong, but it's kind of like we swim upstream to figure out what system is actually the main problem. So. And you can see a lot of them, they overlap. As I go through the list, you'll see that a lot of these overlap each other. So let's start off with the thyroid symptoms. So thyroid, are you feeling tired and sluggish? One of the functions of the thyroid is to keep your energy levels up and steady. So if you have a low functioning thyroid, this is where you're going to feel tired and sluggish. Now again, let's cross over here. The adrenal glands, you'll feel fatigued. So the question is it the thyroid or is it the adrenals? Or is it both? Sometimes it's a combination of both. Feeling cold, okay? One of the functions of the thyroid is to help regulate body temperature. So if you have a low functioning thyroid gland, yes, you're going to feel cold all the time. Maybe you may have fluctuations of feeling warm and or cold, okay? Main thing is the outer 1/3 of the eyebrows. The outer 1/3 of the eyebrows, okay, those will start to lose, those start to fall off, as well as hair loss. Now with hair loss, this is something that your hairdresser will tell you. When they wash your hair in the basin, they'll see that the crown of your hair, the crown of your head, this is when the hair starts to get thinner, okay? Also, constipation. Constipation is a big thing because one of the functions of the thyroid is to help control your metabolism. So if you have low functioning thyroid, okay, one of the symptoms is constipation. Also too, cracking and thin fingernails. So look at your fingernails. Is it cracking? Are they thin? One of the functions of the thyroid is help to break down food. So if you have a low functioning thyroid, you're not breaking down the food products effectively, so they're being malabsorbed in your system, so you're not utilizing those nice nutrients to help with repair, especially the fingernails. Increased weight gain. Now, this is a main indicator, again, a main symptom of the thyroid, because again, the thyroid gland helps regulate your metabolism, okay, your basic metabolic rate, how many calories you burn at rest. So this is where you have increased weight gain. And this is not referring to 5 pounds over the last month. This is referring to I gained about 10 or 15 pounds roughly in the past 2 months, or 30 pounds in the last 2 months. This is a main indicator that something's wrong with your thyroid, okay? And also we run a comprehensive thyroid panel. Yes, we do TSH, T4, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, the whole gamut. But the main thing is that I always want to look at, do you have an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's? Okay, Hashimoto's, it's not a thyroid disease, it's an autoimmune disease where your immune system is attacking the thyroid tissue. And the main indicator that will tell me that is a positive thyroid antibody test. Okay, so these are the 2, 4, 6, 8 indicators, symptoms that I look for in my patients that could point them in the right direction to treat your thyroid. Now let's flip it over. Is it the adrenal? So let's talk about some adrenal symptoms. Remember, the adrenal glands, they're about the size of a quarter, and they rest on top of your kidneys. I always refer them to as the battery backup to your thyroid gland. Yes, you're tired and sluggish with the thyroid, but also too, you're going to be feeling fatigue. Is it your thyroid, or is it the adrenals, or is it a combination of both? Okay. Sweet cravings. Now, one of the functions of the thyroid gland with cortisol release, cortisol is a hormone to help regulate blood sugar. Okay. So if you have fluctuations in cortisol, this is where you're going to crave sweets all the time. Also, difficulty staying asleep. Cortisol should be low before you go to bed, high in the morning, because you want that the high cortisol to kickstart the adrenal glands, which will help kickstart your fight or flight response. So if you have difficulty staying asleep, you're going to have fluctuations in cortisol, which is going to kick in that sympathetic nervous system, and this is where you're going to wake up, in the middle of the night, or you're going to have difficulty staying asleep or going to sleep. That's a main adrenal symptom. Another one, energy crash after meal. This has to deal with the cortisol levels with regulating blood sugar. Okay, are you taking in too much sweets? Are you taking in too much carbohydrates, where your insulin level spikes and you just cannot escort all the insulin into the cells, so you have too much insulin flowing around your system, where your body actually has to shut down? Okay, dizziness upon standing. Now, one of the functions of the adrenal glands is to help regulate the hormone aldosterone. Aldosterone works directly with the kidney system to help regulate your sodium, potassium in your water, which helps regulate blood pressure. So this is a big indicator of adrenal fatigue. This is dizziness upon standing. Okay. Also, to weight gain. Yes, your thyroid gland also controls your metabolism, increased weight gain, and you can see this is where these two will overlap each other. Main thing is brain fog and memory. Main indicator, we're looking at your adrenal glands, because cortisol level is your anti-inflammatory hormone that's released to help decrease inflammation. And if you have adrenal fatigue, adrenal symptoms is brain fog, because it's happening with chronic inflammation. You're not producing enough cortisol to help reduce that chronic inflammation. Now, chronic inflammation actually shrinks the brain, and when you shrink the brain, you actually decrease its function. So this is where you're going to have brain fog and or memory problems due to adrenal fatigue. Okay, I always say, always give back the reference of, remember back in the college days or high school days, or when you're taking a big exam. Okay, this is where test anxiety plays a big part. So when you have test anxiety, what's happening? Your adrenal system is vamping up. Okay, cortisol level is skyrocketing or decreasing, your fluctuations, and this is where you have brain fog. This is where you can't remember the answer, because you're putting yourself in a chronic adrenal fatigue state. So is it your thyroid, or is it your adrenal glands? So of these markers, I always look for about 5 or more markers that will at least point me in the right direction of where to go, of where to start. Is it your thyroid, or is it your adrenal glands? So thanks for watching. Okay, so one of the things that I recommend our patients do at home is thyroid basal temperature testing. So again, take your body temperature daily. So how do we do this? I always recommend this. Keep a log, like a calendar, by your bed, and for the next 30 days, upon waking first thing in the morning, take a thermometer, put it under your armpit for 10 minutes. Now, the thyroid temperature should be anywhere between 97.8 to about 98.2, okay? And you want to write down the numbers on a calendar first thing in the morning. Now, the adrenal temperature, if it's an adrenal situation, because remember, the thyroid symptoms and adrenal symptoms, sometimes they overlap. So with the adrenals, you're going to have a fluctuation, give or take 0.3 degrees. Either it's going to go high or it's going to go low, greater or less than. So if it's a thyroid situation, it's going to be steady. Now, this could be steady like 97.1 across the board for about a good 3 or 4 days. Then we know if it's a thyroid, it's steady, it's low, then we know it's a thyroid issue. However, if you're taking your temperature and one day it's like 97.1, then 97.5, then maybe 97.0, and then the next day probably 97.4. Then with the fluctuations, then we know it's a hypothyroid because it's low thyroid. But with the fluctuations, it's going to be an adrenal component in there. So again, if it's a thyroid issue, it's going to be steady. If we have an adrenal component, it's going to have fluctuations. So this is where you know it's either going to be thyroid and or adrenals and or them together. So the thyroid basal temperature testing is key first thing in the morning. Now, just to tie it all together again, so everything is connected. The adrenal glands and your thyroid are connected. Remember, I always say that the adrenal glands are your battery backup. So everything starts in the brain. So you have the pituitary gland releasing the thyroid stimulating hormone to the thyroid gland, which releases T4 inactive. Now again, that's inactive T4, which then gets converted to active T3. So T3, this is your active form. And that gets released in your bloodstream. Now the situation is, if we have too much cortisol, if you're under the adrenal fatigue, what's going to happen is that with too much cortisol in your system, that T4 is going to be converted more to reverse T3. So you're going to have more reverse T3 in your system as opposed to active T3 in your system. And reverse T3, that slows down your metabolism. Now, because think about this logically, if you're under high adrenal stress, what your body's trying to do is trying to minimize all the other peripheral activity and just maximize the main. So this is where you have slow metabolism due to adrenal stress. Now let's flip it over. Let's say you have too little cortisol in your system. What's going to happen with too little cortisol? Well, instead of converting inactive T4 to active T3, that's going to shunt that down. That's going to actually slow it down, or almost to a stop. So you're going to have low active T3 in your system due to the fact you have too little cortisol. So you're going to go to the doctor, and he's going to give you blood work, and he's going to look at your TSH and your T4, which you can see with the adrenal and thyroid connection, it creates a bigger picture. What about the reverse T3? What about the free T3, and so forth and so on? What about the thyroid antibodies? So everything plays a part, and everything is connected with your adrenals and thyroid. So I hope that helps. Again, is it the adrenals? Is it the thyroid? Check the symptoms. Check them off. We do a full blood panel. Thyroid antibodies is very important, because you can see also taking the thermometer first thing in the morning. Now, I always recommend, back in the olden times, the mercury thermometer. Okay, this is the best measuring tool, because you want to keep it in your armpit for about 10 minutes. Okay, so I recommend kind of going old school and using the old one with the mercury. Okay, so that's what I recommend. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Hello, this is Dr. Jawad. Please subscribe to my channel for more up-to-date videos. And thanks for watching.